If you or someone you love depends on SNAP benefits to put food on the table, what I'm about to tell you is going to hit hard. This isn't speculation. This isn't rumor. This is a confirmed crisis that's unfolding right now, affecting 42 million Americans. And the question everyone's been asking for weeks finally has an answer. But trust me, you're not going to like it. Welcome to Buck Breakdown. I'm here to give you the straight truth about the programs that keep seniors and low-income families afloat: Social Security, SNAP, COLA adjustments, all of it. No sugarcoating, no political spin, just the facts you need to protect yourself. Before we dive into this situation, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment and let me know. Where are you watching from? What state? And are you currently receiving SNAP benefits, or do you know someone who is? Also, if you're over 60, let me know your age range. I'm asking because this crisis affects different people in different ways, and I want to understand who's watching so I can make sure I'm addressing your specific concerns. Hit that comment section now. It helps this video reach more people who desperately need this information. All right, let's get into what's happening. The breaking news. Here's the headline. Yes, November SNAP benefits are coming, but, and this is a massive but, you're only getting half of what you normally receive. Let me say that again so it sinks in. 50% of your usual benefit. Half. If you typically get $300 a month, you're getting $150. If you're a family of 4 that usually receives close to $1,000, you're looking at around $500. Now, before you ask, how did we get here? Or why only half? Let me walk you through exactly what happened, because this story is bigger than just 1 month's payment. The government shutdown context. Here's the situation. The federal government has been shut down since October 1st. We're now more than a month into this shutdown, and it's the longest one we've seen in years. When the government shuts down, funding for programs like SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, what used to be called food stamps, gets frozen. The normal money pipeline from Congress to the USDA to the states to your EBT card, it stops flowing. So when November 1st rolled around, millions of people expected their benefits to hit their accounts like they always do, but nothing came. Cards stayed empty, grocery budgets evaporated overnight, people panicked, food banks got overwhelmed, and families who were already stretched thin suddenly had to figure out how to feed themselves with zero help from a program they'd been counting on. The legal battle. That's when things got dramatic. 2 federal judges, one in Rhode Island, one in Massachusetts, stepped in and said, "Hold on, you can't just leave 42 million people without food assistance." These judges looked at the law and said the USDA has emergency contingency funds specifically designed for situations like this. It's money set aside for disasters, for emergencies, for times when the regular funding stream gets cut off. And according to these judges, a government shutdown that leaves millions of Americans unable to buy groceries, that qualifies as an emergency. So last Friday, both judges issued orders. The Trump administration must use those contingency funds to get benefits out to people. They gave the government until Monday at noon to respond. The administration's response. Monday came. The deadline hit. And here's what the administration said. Okay, we'll use the contingency fund, but we're only paying out 50%. Now, why 50%? Is it arbitrary? Is it political? Actually, it comes down to simple and brutal math. The total SNAP contingency fund has $5.25 billion in it. That sounds like a lot of money, right? But here's the reality. It costs between $8 and $9 billion to fully fund SNAP for 1 month for all 42 million recipients. So right away, you can see the problem. Even if they emptied the entire emergency fund, it wouldn't cover a full month. But wait, it gets worse. The Department of Justice revealed in their court filing that $600 million of that $5.25 billion has to be set aside for administrative costs. That's the money needed to keep state offices running, to pay the workers who process applications and maintain the system, even during a shutdown. So take $600 million off the top, and you're left with $4.65 billion to actually distribute to households. When you do the math, $4.65 billion covers roughly 50% of what everyone normally receives, not a penny more. This wasn't a political decision, it was the only decision that the available funds allowed. What this means for you. Let's get practical for a moment. What does a 50% payment actually mean for your daily life? If you were planning to use your SNAP benefits to cover groceries for the entire month of November, you now have a serious problem. This half payment is designed to cover maybe 2 weeks of food at best. So, what happens for the other 2 weeks? That's the question nobody in Washington seems willing or able to answer right now. Think about your monthly budget. If you're a senior living on a fixed income, you've probably got every dollar accounted for. Social Security covers your rent, utilities, maybe some medications. SNAP covers your food. That's how you make it work. Now suddenly, halfway through the month, that food money runs out. Where do you turn? Family? Friends? Food banks that are already stretched beyond capacity? This isn't just an inconvenience. For millions of people, this is a genuine crisis. The delivery nightmare. Now, here's where this situation goes from bad to worse. Even though the administration has committed to sending out this 50% payment, getting it into your hands is turning into a logistical nightmare. A federal judge literally used the word catastrophic to describe the administrative challenges ahead. Let me explain why. The USDA can't just press a button and send everyone half of their normal benefit. That's not how the system works. This has never been done before in the history of the SNAP program. Every single state agency, all 50 of them, now has to recalculate benefits for every household on their rolls. They have to take your normal monthly allotment and manually cut it in half. These computer systems running SNAP, they're decades old. They're automated to send full payments, not partial ones. They're not designed for this kind of manual intervention. State workers are going to have to override systems, manually input calculations, double-check numbers, and pray nothing breaks in the process. The timing problem, and here's the real kicker. The federal government itself admitted in court documents that it could take some states a few weeks to get this done. For other states with older, more complex systems, it could take several months. Let me repeat that. Several months. You're getting a payment for November that might not arrive until December or January or even later. If you're sitting at home right now thinking, well, at least it's coming eventually, I need you to understand how devastating that delay is. If you're hungry today, eventually doesn't help you. If your cupboards are bare this week, a payment in January doesn't solve your immediate problem. Why the delays? So why would it take so long? 2 words. The shutdown. The people who are supposed to be doing these complex recalculations, the state workers who process SNAP applications and maintain the databases, they're either furloughed or they're working without paychecks. Think about it. If you weren't getting paid, how motivated would you be to come into work and solve an unprecedented technical nightmare? Some of these workers are probably dealing with their own financial stress right now because of this shutdown. The system is running on fumes with a skeleton crew of exhausted, unpaid workers trying to untangle a mess that shouldn't exist in the first place. Eligibility chaos. There's another problem brewing that most people haven't even thought about yet. Eligibility. SNAP isn't a static program. People's situations change every month. You might start working more hours. Your income might go up or down. You might move. Your household size might change. Normally, you'd report these changes to a caseworker who would update your file and adjust your benefits accordingly. But with federal offices closed and state agencies barely functioning, where does that paperwork go? Who processes it? Who updates your file? This means there are likely thousands, maybe millions of people right now who should be getting more money because their circumstances changed for the worse. But there's no one available to process their updated applications. On the flip side, there are probably people who are no longer eligible but will still receive this 50% payment because the verification system is offline and nobody's checking. It's a perfect storm of administrative dysfunction. The December crisis. Now let's talk about what nobody in power wants to address. What happens next month? Because here's the brutal truth. This 50% payment for November is a temporary band-aid. It's buying time, nothing more. The $5.25 billion contingency fund will be completely empty after these November payments go out. Drained. Gone. There's no more emergency money to tap into. So if the government shutdown continues into December, and right now there's no end in sight, what happens to SNAP benefits then? The answer is chilling. Zero. Nothing. No payment at all. Unless Congress passes a funding bill or someone finds another pot of money somewhere, December benefits will simply not exist. Let that sink in. We're potentially looking at 42 million Americans going without food assistance for an entire month during the holidays. A warning from the front lines. I want to share something with you. This isn't from a politician or some talking head on cable news. This is from an actual worker inside the SNAP program in Washington state. They called this 50% payment a huge win for the nearly 1 million people in their state who depend on SNAP. But then they said something that should terrify all of us. This doesn't go off without any future problems. The real problem will come next month when the federal government doesn't have access to any additional contingency funds. Translation: we just used our last bullet. There's no backup plan. If the shutdown continues, we're looking at a complete collapse of food assistance in America. The impossible choice for states. This crisis is creating an agonizing dilemma for state governments right now. They're facing a brutal choice. Do they send out every penny of this 50% payment to SNAP recipients now, providing immediate but short-term relief? Or do they hold back some of that money to stock up food banks and emergency services for December when the federal tap might be completely shut off? It's an impossible decision. Do you help people today, or do you save resources to prevent mass hunger next month? Think about that for a second. State officials are literally having to decide between feeding people now or feeding people later, knowing they can't do both. There is no right answer here, only varying degrees of desperation. The ripple effect. This isn't just about SNAP recipients. This is about entire communities. When SNAP payments stop or get cut in half, what happens to your local grocery store? A huge chunk of their revenue comes from EBT transactions. When that money disappears, it hurts their bottom line. What happens to food banks? They're already operating at maximum capacity. If SNAP collapses, they'll be instantly overwhelmed with people who have nowhere else to turn. We're not just talking about one government program failing. We're talking about a critical thread in our social safety net snapping and the whole fabric starting to unravel. What you need to do now. So where does this leave you? What should you do if you're receiving SNAP benefits? First, treat this 50% payment as a 2-week emergency fund, not a month's worth of groceries. Budget accordingly. Stretch every dollar as far as it will go. Second, start reaching out to local resources now before the crisis gets worse. Find out where your nearest food pantries are. Get connected with community organizations. Build a safety net while there's still time. Third, don't wait until your cupboards are bare. If you see your benefits running out and December's payment is uncertain, get help early. Fourth, check your EBT card regularly. Since different states are processing these payments at different speeds, you need to know when yours actually arrives. Some people might see it this week, others might be waiting until late November or even December. What comes next? Look, I wish I could tell you everything's going to be fine. I wish I could say Congress will get its act together and pass a funding bill before December hits. But I can't predict the future. And based on the political dysfunction we're seeing right now, I'm not confident they'll solve this quickly. What I can tell you is this: knowledge is power. The fact that you're watching this video means you're already ahead of most people. You're not going to be blindsided. You're not going to be caught off guard when your December payment doesn't show up. You're prepared, you're informed, and that gives you a fighting chance. Your voice matters. I need your help with something. When your November payment hits your account, I want you to come back to this video and leave a comment. Tell me, did you get your 50%? Was it more or less than expected? Did it arrive on time or was it delayed? What state are you in? Your experience matters. Your story matters. When we share what's really happening on the ground, not what politicians claim, but what actual people are experiencing, it holds the system accountable. It's how we fight back against bureaucratic dysfunction and political games. The bigger picture. Here's what this situation really reveals. The programs we depend on, Social Security, SNAP, Medicare, Medicaid, They're only as strong as the political will to fund them. When Congress can't pass a basic funding bill, when political gridlock takes precedence over feeding hungry Americans, the most vulnerable people suffer first and suffer most. This SNAP crisis is a warning shot. It's showing us what happens when the safety net fails. And if we don't pay attention, if we don't demand better, these failures will keep happening. Social Security faces funding shortfalls. Medicare is under constant pressure. SNAP is hanging by a thread. These aren't separate problems. They're all symptoms of the same disease, a system that's breaking down while politicians argue. Staying strong together. I know this is heavy. I know it's scary. If you're sitting there feeling anxious or overwhelmed, that's completely understandable. But here's what I want you to remember. You are not alone. There are 42 million Americans going through this exact same crisis right now. Millions of seniors, families, disabled individuals, all trying to figure out how to survive this mess. And when we come together, when we support each other, when we share information and resources, that's when we're strongest. This is what Buck Breakdown is all about. Having the real conversations that other channels won't touch. Giving you accurate information about Social Security, SNAP, COLA adjustments, Medicare, all the programs that affect your daily life. I don't do hype. I don't sell fear. I just tell you what's really happening so you can make informed decisions and protect yourself. If you found this valuable, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I'll be following this SNAP situation closely and bringing you updates as they develop. Share this video with anyone who needs to see it. Your family, your friends, anyone you know who relies on SNAP. They need this information, and keep commenting. Tell me what you're experiencing, ask questions, share your concerns. This channel exists for you, and I want to make sure I'm covering what matters most to your life. We're going to get through this together by staying informed, staying prepared, and looking out for one another. Until next time, this is Buck Breakdown. Stay strong, stay informed, and remember, you've earned these benefits. Don't let anyone make you feel otherwise. I'll see you in the next one.